Today I'm interviewing Wayne Smith about agronomy and agriculture and cropping. And Wayne, just an expert at chemistry and physics, he understood those subjects really well. He has a passion to stretch the limits and see what's possible. That'll come out in review. He helped me with the no-till revolution. He was really my right-hand man. He was just a fantastic backup in the 90s and 2000s. Wayne's had an incredible impact across all of Australia, and in fact even globally, as you'll hear in this discussion in the US. Wayne had a newsletter called Agronomic Acumen, which ran for probably 15, 20 years, and I contributed to that occasionally. And Wayne then went on and did a sheep project later on, but that's for the next interview. So enjoy my good friend Wayne Smith. Well, Wayne Smith, welcome to the podcast of Four Farmers. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Bill. Great time.
So we've had a long history in agriculture together, and we went through university together. But tell us what got you involved in agriculture. Why were you interested in agriculture?
Ever since a kid, I was always interested in plants and pet spiders and things. And I actually remember when I was 10 years old, I wanted to grow my own veggie garden. I had to dig up about a quarter of our backyard with cooch, clings to the dirt, and pre-Roundup days, of course.
Yeah.
And so I just got into veggies, and my grandfather was right into veggies and anything about nature.
So this was at the age of 10 or 12 or?
10, yeah. It was 10 when I remember growing my own veggie garden.
Yeah. Started
from there.
So then you decided, well, do agriculture. Is that what happened?
When you get to the last year of high school, I was very good at physics and chemistry, so maths and things, and been good in biology. So I thought maybe I'm meant to do something in chemical and physics. In university, there was a chemical physics course, but I read it and it's boring, but it's like, well, that's what I'm good at. Maybe I should do that. The night before the deadline, you had to sign in. I opened the book to the first page, A for Agriculture, and I go down all the prerequisites. Oh, I'm doing all of them. That sounds way more interesting than chemical physics because I've got a natural love of nature. Mm. So that's the night before the deadline. That's when I chose agriculture. I was so keen. I went to university before it started, and Alan Robson met me there, the sub-dean, and he looked at my marks.
You're not going to survive agriculture.
No, you're not very good at English.
Oh, right.
And
you've edited an agricultural journal for all your life.
That's quite ironic, isn't it? It's, I was actually
you write the most interesting stuff, and it flows. But I was a bit the same, actually. I was terrible at English. But anyway, keep going.
Well, it's the way they do English. But I could read and write before I went to school, primary school. My mum was a school teacher, and she made sure I could read and write before I went to school. So I would win spelling competitions and things. But I could not read between the lines. I couldn't interpret somebody's methodology of writing something, and I hated it. So I think I got 57% or something for English. So Alan Robson says, you should choose something else. You're not going to make it. And it's like, no, I love nature and stuff. No, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
But he was only looking at my marks. And so anyway, did agriculture in the best 4 years of my life.
Yeah. And then you ended up doing an agronomy honours thesis. And why did you do that, and what was that on?
That was on brome grass competition with wheat. And so I had a unicorn wheat, which is a wheat that doesn't tiller, and two other varieties that tiller differently, and just did that, working out tiller number against competition and things. I was the only agronomy student apparently for 8 years, and I loved it. I loved everything, experimenting, finding out answers. And in hindsight, I did way too much. I could have done a tenth of it and still done my honours degree. But little lesson to anyone out there: don't do too much.
Focus on what you answer the question.
Answer the question. One little problem solved is all you need. Just to show you can solve a problem.
It's probably what life's all about too, really, isn't it? We can get distracted by thousands of different things. Focus on the big things is one thing. A farmer told me at Jerramunga when I first joined the ag department. Focus on the big things, he says. And I think you and I have probably done that, actually. When I look at your career, now you worked with Wal Anderson when you graduated, and Wal's wonderful work of encouraging farmers to get high yields, get the agronomy right, and you were his understudy. What was the biggest thing you learnt from that?
I was disciple number one, apparently. First tech officer. Yeah, his trials were just putting it all together, sowing time, variety, nutrition, which is what agronomy was. So I loved it, and I was just so fortunate to be with the first agronomy researcher really in the ag department. And, so we would learn all the time of sowings and doing all the work. But then at the end of that year, they promoted me to a research officer job down in Albany along the south coast to try and get people to 4-tonne wheat, which no one has been doing more than 2-tonne of wheat and stuff.
Per hectare?
Per hectare, yeah. They were great days. Yeah, I absolutely loved it.
And that's where you and I reconnected, because I was at Jerramunga Pack department, you were at Albany, and we had to do a few courses with farmers. And when people, pat me on the back for being no-till, I always say, you're my deputy in WA.
I was a cheer squad. Go, Bill.
Well, you were a solid. I remember one of the talks that you gave, and you've given it regularly, but you put a picture up of a turtle with his head stuck in, and you said, if you want to make progress, you've got to stick your neck out. And of course, the turtle doesn't walk until it sticks its neck out. And actually, sometimes they can stick the neck out quite fast, can't they? Or, put their tongue out fast anyway.
That was quite prophetic in hindsight, really, wasn't it?
It was, because we did stick, both of us, we stuck our necks out, and I ended up sort of being squeezed out of the ag department off to Canada and then out of the ag department into Wanfa. But you stayed in the ag department for a while. But before we get to that, we also had a bit of a challenge with farmers to encourage them to stick their neck out too. Well, tell us about that.
I used to always be puzzled why people call me controversial. Just trying to do something that's obviously right. It's not, because it was different to what was done at the time.
Which was work up your paddock, work it back, and then seed it. Yeah. Plant it in June or July and get waterlogged.
And you don't grow wheat down here.
Yeah.
This is barley.
The south coast.
That's right, in the south coast. But by the second year, it was so obvious. It was so easy. It was so easy, I was almost getting bored with how easy it was to get 4-tonne a hectare. And remember, at that time, no one had really been recording doing 2-tonne of wheat. Other crops, yes. You remember you and I did a sharecropping thing at Jim Bailey's?
Yes.
That was probably the best extension, because everybody stopped and looked over the fence what they're doing and what did you do and when you did it, and you'll be lucky, it's going to rain and ruin it and blah, blah.
So this was a crop competition, for those that don't know, against the local farmers.
Yeah.
And we said, you said, we'll get 4-tonne.
Yeah.
At Jim Bailey's farm, we leased some land, 50 hectares or something, put our money in. Jim planned it for us according to our description, yeah.
And I was overseas at the time for 4 months, so I missed out most of the growing season, but that's another story. But yeah, that was the best extension. And then it really started taking off where people started doing rotations. Leuven started coming back in. Take-all was by far the number one problem, which is weird now because you hardly see it anymore. People are doing nutrition and rotation so well, so much better and no-till. And yeah, but there was obviously getting to 4-tonne without the machinery. It was, what do you do with all the stubble? And, farmers were, okay, you've got us to 4-tonne and stuff, but what now?
Burn the stubble.
But I don't want to burn anymore.
Because the whole farm will blow away if we burn the stubble. It protects the soil. Yeah. But another person, Peter King, should throw his name in, because you and I were at an event where Peter said, knowledge across the south coast is exploding.
Yep.
And, this is a high production cropping is possible, and he was a great encouragement to us, wasn't he? He was 20 years older or thereabouts.
He was good. You remember people complaining about, non-wetting, we're growing these lupins now I can't grow anything because it's non-wetting, and it's like, it was all doom and gloom, but amongst that...
And wind erosion.
Yeah, but in amongst that, it was so obvious what was the right thing to do. It was like you could just see it. You and I could both see that, and Ross Whittle, if you remember him, he was probably the first farmer known to get 4-tonne a hectare of wheat.
At Esperance?
South Coast, at Esperance. I had worked for 4 years in the ag department, hadn't taken a holiday. I loved work, just holidays are in the way. I was single and, I was going to finish my last year of the project, the high yield thing, which to me was solved. It was easy what to do. And John Hamlin, he was a fantastic mentor. If he's still with us.
Yeah, John's with us.
G'day, John. Yeah. You were awesome. I really appreciated you.
Likewise.
And I wanted to finish my job and then go away and learn German and live in Germany and live in Europe for a year.
Oh, wow.
And John said, no, you can't take your holidays after. You've got to take them while you're working. I said, well, I haven't taken holidays for 4 years, and that's, 4 months of holidays. And I really want to go to Europe and, see Rothamsted in the UK and see all these things. No, you got to do it while you're working. So it's my last year of the project and I've got all these trucks. He said, you got to go. So he gave me permission. Long story, I got funding, which was a farmer wanted me to, Terry Noonan at Katanning. He said, I was helping him on a weekend, private consulting, I guess, but free.
Yeah.
doing the ag department.
Okay.
And Terry told him I was going away for 4 months. He said, well, I haven't seen an application for funding. He said, no, I'm just going, it's my time. He said, no, we have a priority to send young people overseas studying. Okay, so I went to John Hamlin, how much do I ask for? And he told me, and like, oh, that's too much. I cut it in half, got funded, went away and did the trip. Anyway,
That was 1989.
that was 1989, April, I left.
Yeah.
Came back in August. But Ross Whittle, as you know, I'm not mechanically minded at all. I'm not interested in machinery. I am a bit more now.
Yeah. Now you've had
Not
your
then.
little farm project. Yeah.
I grow things.
Yeah.
I grow bugs and plants. Anyway, Ross Whittle said, look, while you're there, you've got us to this 4-tonne. This was his words, paraphrasing, that you've got us to 4-tonne and I don't want a plough. But there's this machine in America that you're going to called Haybuster, which is just a single disc and putting a seed behind it. And so I found some of that information. But one of the places I went to was Pullman University in Washington State. I've been planning this for so long. And that just blew me away like it was an answer from God, because it was what we needed to see on the south coast. They put out 12 tonne a hectare of stubble up and down in the Palouse area sort of stuff, and just seeding through at perfect depth. When I got back, got funding to bring John over, and then it was those 3 cross-lot machines that started, and with you and everyone taking it off from there.
Gilmore, Jensen and Stone.
Yes.
And then we had field days with them.
Yep.
We stood in the paddock and Ron Jarvis said, you're wasting your time. We did all this in the 70s. You guys are, you're wasting, all these nice machines will be behind a big shed under a tree, all going rusty in 2 years.
I remember Rick Swarbrick saying, I don't care, Ron, if I lose 10% of yield. At least my paddock won't blow away.
Yeah.
And I've got a crop everywhere. It's like very
pragmatic. Yeah. And Jeff B said much the same thing.
Yeah.
Jacob, I don't care if I lose a little bit of yield. I want to keep my soil, keep my crops.
It was a big mental change, wasn't it?
It was. And Jerramunga had enough.
They were on 60 Minutes or something. It was sand across the highway.
And this is how we're going to turn Australia into a desert, and agriculture's finished. And Bob Twigg did his little Murdoch University thesis saying we've got to go back to emus and kangaroos, perhaps, asking the big question, because he was at the Murdoch University where the environmental sort of tone was strong. But then Bob was part of the Jerramunga Land Conservation District that, Jerramunga really did some great projects, including the one that I did, which was minimum tillage for wind erodible soils.
Yeah, people had pride, like my paddy didn't blow. It was a big mental change that was just awesome to be part of, and, to watch people ridicule you, but you just laugh them off. Just, we wouldn't have got that far without someone like you. You were the right person.
Had to have a thick skin, didn't we?
In hindsight, but at the time, it was like, it was so obvious.
The goal was clear. Yeah. Well,
you could see what the answer was.
Why be detracted from what we knew we had to do? And of course, now 4 tonnes a pretty low yield to be aiming at in the south coast for wheat.
You've mucked up if you only get 4 tonnes.
Yeah. Should be 7 probably.
I know 3 paddocks that went 10
this year.
No, in the last sort of 20 years.
Yeah, the whole paddock or just patches?
Whole paddocks. Whole paddock averages over 10 tonne without irrigation.
Wayne, we set our sights too low. But we didn't know how the soil would change either over time.
We didn't know to the extent of it. But even people aren't scared of droughts anymore. Got nutrition, you've got no subsoil constraints. On less than 180 mils, 200 mils, you can get 4 tonne crops. It's just phenomenal. People are really good farmers now.
Yeah, and
got it all together.
And the weeds are pretty well sorted.
Yeah,
herbicides have done a wonderful job.
Lots of doomsayers, isn't there?
Yeah,
we lost Roundup, we're doomed. Got to go back to the plough. No, we don't.
Yeah. But well, that's what the South American champions of no-till told me. They said that we'd go through these cycles. We'd have a real problem and we'd solve it, and we'd go, phew, and we're good for 2 years. And then we'd hit another problem, and they'd say, we told you it wouldn't work. A classic saying that you and I would have come across when we go to a new area. In fact, you and I did do talks in South Australia together. Was, no-till works over there, but not here. No. And then almost everywhere you go, it does work. There are a couple of places I can think of in the world, like south of Winnipeg in that Red River Valley. It's really wet and cold, and huge stubble, and got to try and get a corn going in short season, blackening the soil, removing the stubble, Yeah, it gives them a better crop. I'll be interested to follow that now. That's 20 years ago. But there was people like Guy Lafond, good friends of Jim Halford's, who did work with the Conserva Pack, did wonderful row spacing work. Guy's brother Rennie farmed in that Red River Valley, and he tried, along with, I've forgotten the names now, but there's quite a few Canadian guys that were really good farmers and no-tillers, and they just weren't able to make improvements above anyone else. But anyway, the Canadians can answer that one for us.
It is probably the weakness. I had a client one year with no-till doing it so well at Kojonup, and it stored so much moisture, and then it was a very wet year, and you couldn't drive on the paddock.
Slop.
Yeah, people that a neighbour next door that had ploughed, okay, it was a bit boggy, but the water ran off.
Yeah.
It eroded off. But that client didn't plant a crop that year. So that is the weakness of no-till. You store too much moisture on a soil that becomes boggy, you're in trouble. Hasn't seemed to have happened since. We've seemed to have got a way around it. The soil's improved.
Probably planting a bit earlier too. You played around with winter wheats, and so did Rick Hurst. And that's a good idea. If you get a massive rain in March, you got a winter wheat that doesn't put its head up until August, or
Mohawk's going to be a big one across Australia. I love that variety.
Okay.
If people haven't tried it, that's a huge change in agriculture. That Mohawk variety from Kevin Young,
right?
Where you can do that, even low rainfall. They're a plant in March, not going to tiller, and then it speeds up as quick as Scepter.
Ah, well, good on Kevin, because Kevin was in with the ICI too in Esperance in the 70s, and then he became a good researcher in barley, high yield. He was doing the same sort of thing as you, wasn't he? And Wal Anderson.
Yep.
Getting barley yields of 6 tonne and probably more now, probably 9 10. Who knows what he's doing? But Kevin would be a bit older than us. He'd be nearly retired. But again, a good shout out to him. Yeah. So that's I didn't know he made that variety. And is that got a winter component?
Got winter genes, but it's once it triggers, it doesn't need a lot of cold, and it's not like a winter wheat that's really slow. It's actually really aggressive. Big tiller, big weed competition up front. But once it gets the trigger, it goes as quick as Scepter and filling grain, and it's going to be a game changer across Australia. It's that style of wheat.
Okay.
How you get rain in March and it's too early for the varieties I've got, and then it doesn't rain until June.
Well, you and I also got a bit excited about, Dwayne Beck's work in South Dakota. Dwayne was a very good no-till researcher and professor, and he speaks at a lot of the no-till conference. I don't know if he still does. He'd be 80 now, perhaps, I guess. Dwayne was an inspirational sort of character, and one thing he encouraged us to do wasn't overly successful, and that was the the warm season crops across the whole wheat belt.
Yeah.
Where you're saying where you get waterlogging and you fill the soil up with water. Well, sure, that's one tool to dry it out a bit so that next year you don't get flooded on the south coast in high rainfall. But out Salmon Gums and where I farmed at Morawa, it's just not enough water. It's just too hot, too dry. You said we're not scared of droughts. Well, I did have 3 droughts in my last 4 years. And when I say droughts, only 80 mils for the whole winter and virtually no summer rain evaporated away. That's a real drought, yeah. But I still got 400 kilos per hectare. It's, it covered the ground. The ground wouldn't blow away with no sheep, so it's made the system more stable. And, of course, in those environments, they go to fallow too now.
Yeah. So. The days when people, 20, 30 years ago had 150 mils, 170 mils, it was a drought.
Yeah.
Get nothing.
Yeah.
But these days, good farmers will still expect 3 to 4 tonne, in early deep roots. The deep roots was a crucial thing, as we found out, but we're not afraid of those sort of years anymore.
Yeah, and a bit of lime helps with the roots grow deeper. Yep. And also rotations, getting rid of take-all. You mentioned take-all before. Maybe we touch on that a little bit more. Why do you think that's disappeared?
Largely nutrition, but also just doing things better. So just to go back, the South Coast in those days, so that was up to 450 mil rainfall and above, 450 and above rainfall on the South Coast. They didn't grow lupins, and canola had passed the boom. You remember the black leg had wiped it all out, so it was only a little
1979.
So if you wanted to grow wheat, you'd plough up a pasture full of grass. And it wasn't a problem so much with oats, barley, or canola if you tried it. But for wheat, it would just die. And so it's just that South Coast, you don't grow wheat down here. But introduce lupins, fusillade was out, spray the grass out. It was easy in those days. Have a completely clean paddock, plant wheat, voila. You've just doubled your yield easily, and you get a dry finish. It's not going to pinch off. And But then as we pushed, we get into nutrition and things, that became a lot more apparent. You don't see much at 2 tonne. You see a lot at 4, 5, 6, 7 tonne. So yeah, it's just rotations got better. We're not planting after grass so much. But even when we plant wheat after wheat, which used to be a disaster, we can make it work pretty well.
Remember David Roget's work with Albert Rivera, suppressive soils?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think keeping the stubble, or actually even more growing more roots in the soil is also stubble in the soil. Even if you did, remove some of the hay baling or whatever, we've allowed the fungi to be more complex and everything else to fight the nasty take-all, and rhizoctonia perhaps too.
Yeah, it's a good point on the rhizoctonia, because that was often over the east, South Australia and all that, about David Roget's thing of having a 6-week fallow and then planting, you get less rhizoctonia. But what they didn't realise is you actually get less nematodes. Rhizoctonia is not the primary cause. If you've got rhizoctonia, something else is there first to make the plant weak to then get rhizoctonia. So, and as history has shown, if you fix up nutrition, fix up nematode rotation. So nematodes are bad because nutrition is not quite right and rotation, but mostly nutrition. You get that right, pretty much disappears.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is enjoyable talking to you, Wayne. We haven't teased these things out much really together, but we've both gone down a similar journey in learning this stuff. There's a wheat breeder, Tony Rathjen. I went to Salmon Gums and said, you guys should be, no tilling up here. And they said, oh, we can't. Why not rhizoctonia? Oh, well, rip. I've done trials. I've published trials, scientific good trials with Ross Brennan, and proved that if you rip sandy soil, you'll get rid of rhizoctonia completely. Yep. And they said, oh, that doesn't work. And I said, well, prove it to me. And then they said to someone who's organising the field day, and I was one of the speakers, and they said, can we go and see this and change our program? Oh, right then. So we went across in Salmon Gums to a Circle Valley soil that was an alkaline soil, and Roger Fletcher was, the agitator, which is good because Roger just spoke freely, candidly, and quite aggressively, but good on him. You've got an issue, you address it, and he was happy to pull us up on it. And so this confrontation actually made me make the penny drop. So we went and saw this ripping, and there was no difference where it was ripped and where it wasn't ripped. I said, well, and it looks like rhizoctonia. I said, well, that's not rhizoctonia. There's something else going on. There might be rhizoctonia there, but there's something else going on. So then I read an article by Tony Rathjen, a wheat breeder, South Australia. He's passed away too now. And he said that, he talked about nematodes and how on alkaline soils they can be a problem. And so that sort of led to that journey. And then South Australia was very slow to take on disc seeders because disc seeders exposed this even more. Yeah. But now, of course, so we've been to Eyre Peninsula this year, and the discs everywhere.
I know.
Amazing. And the weed control's great. They don't have as much ryegrass as we have. They're more brome grass. But it made me think, oh, wow, just the improvement, as you were saying, in nutrition, in health, in biological soil fertility has really pushed away a lot of these diseases, which is, and zinc as well. You had a bit of work in that?
Oh, zinc was the major one, yeah. But like I said, as you push your yields, you find out something's wrong. But
the next rate limiting step.
That's right. But I actually remember probably where the learning plan thing started. There was a field day at Esperance, and Professor Alan Robson, for those who don't know, was the nutrition guru, like published everything and did these books on this is what copper looks like and zinc deficiency looks like, blah, blah. Like he was the world expert. And we're at this field day in Esperance and someone pulls the plant up and says to Professor Robson, what's wrong with this? So I look at it. He's the professor. I'm not going to answer it. And he said, I don't know. And that was a big shock for me. I mean, this guy is held really high. He is an expert in it. But all his life, he had only done everything adequate except this nutrient. And then that's what it looks like. And then this nutrient, blah, blah. But, of course, there were two things wrong. And so for me, it was really obvious. But that was a light bulb moment for me.
Like cigarettes and alcohol, excessive. To the plant, there's something wrong with the plant. What is it? Is it just that?
But to me, it was very obvious. But then I realised I find this really easy. It's so obvious what's wrong. Which is number one and which is number two. And I didn't know it at the time, but
it was intuitive. It was instinctive in you almost.
It was like everyone knows this. And I was really shocked that my professor didn't.
Yeah.
Because he never studied what's happening in the paddocks,
Yeah.
just glass houses.
Yeah.
The real world is complicated.
Everyone has the greatest respect for Alan. I was disappointed that he didn't hold our climate change debate in 2011. That would have been a very good thing to have done, because now Bill Gates has come out and said, climate change is probably not a big thing anymore.
Yeah, we got that one wrong.
Anyway, not everyone will agree with us when we say that, but if you look at history, and it's probably worth a 2-minute digress here with you, Wayne, because you can come with me. People ignore history, and we ignore history at our peril. We remember Abraham went to Egypt because there was a famine. Mm-hmm. Isaac was going to go to Egypt 40 years later because there was a famine, but he said, no, stay and dig a well. Mm-hmm. Jacob was told he went to Egypt because there was a famine. Another generation later, Joseph, his son, he went to Egypt and there was a 7-year famine in the whole region. So every 40 years you have these big periods of, that's a Mediterranean climate too, very similar to what we are here in Western Australia. Perth and Israel are sort of same, opposite. So, and then of course you've got, and that was 4,000 years ago and 3,000 years ago, and then 2,000 years ago there's passages where Paul says there's a big drought in Jerusalem and they don't have any food, send food to them. So there's that again. And then, of course, in 1000 AD, 1,000 years after Christ to 1300, Greenland, what happened there? Vikings moved to Greenland and grew crops because they could, because it was a medieval warming period. Everyone knows that. It's all written in history. Amazing. And then in 1640, they skated on the River Thames for 4 winters, and people were out there with their crayons drawing pictures of people skating, and they had winter fairs on the River Thames. So in 1640, they had this. And none of that had anything to do with fossil fuels.
Cognitive dissonance, Bill. I won't consider that because it's against what my theory is.
That's what people say, isn't it?
It is.
Well, and confirmational bias, and it is hard to change your mind too. When I know I can be stubborn, and our wives will tell us this. You get stubborn, you just won't consider it, and it's in those quiet moments afterwards you think, well, could I? We've all got to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And
humble pie.
Yeah, eat humble pie, and it's not enjoyable, not with a human nature that we have.
Never tastes good.
Never tastes good. And now that was climate change. Okay. Now shoot across to you. Had a difficult time. You had a divorce. I'm not sure if that's it. The right spot in your. Yep. So what happened there? Tell us.
Yeah, things were going weird.
Yep.
And my dad and mum had just bought a little hobby farm. Mum wanted to run cows.
Down near Albany?
Down near Albany, Marble Up area. And I've been invited to go to see an agronomist and speak and things in Kansas and stuff. I said, no. Anyway, things were just getting weird, and said, I need a break. And Dad and Mum have got these cows. I don't know how to grow cows. I know how to grow pasture. And so I'll go to see this agronomist and spend time with him and look around and learn about Kansas and stuff. But there's a cow whispering course down in Texas just below.
You learn how to whisper to cows.
I did.
Okay.
It's actually more to do with body movement, but that's another story.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I was with Bud Williams, who's no longer with us, but he's the one who's taught low-stress stock management around the world, taught everyone in Australia. Anyone who teaches in Australia first learned from Bud.
So they could just YouTube that, Bud Williams.
Yeah, Bud Williams, low-stress stock management stuff. So that was fantastic, learning about how to move cows, treat cows, cut a cow out without yelling and prodding and stuff, just doing it by body movement. And he was sensational at it, just amazing. I could go on for ages. Anyway, but after that I thought, well, I'm here, things are weird back home, and I'll go and see this agronomist in Kansas and going around and I would say, wow, you got a really bad zinc deficiency here. And he goes, what do you mean? What? This, showing him, no, that's frost damage, that's winter kill. You don't have winter kill in Australia, Wayne. I said, no, we don't, but that's zinc deficiency. And then it would be another paddock. And it was really weird because it was like only sulfur or, and then a couple of paddocks of sulfur and copper and just chronic. And they were really struggling to get 3-tonne crops in 26-inch rainfall. Like it was just, well, obviously. And they go, Wayne, you don't know how hot it is here. And I was like, yeah, I do. I've been here. But that's where, again, that was really obvious to me. And when I got back to Australia, then he sent a letter. He's like, how the heck did you get that right? Because after you left, I went and tested every paddock we went to, every field. and you were right. So how did you know? So, well, it's obvious that's zinc and that's copper. And this, you just knew.
Now, was this Bud Williams himself?
No, this is
Another
Mark,
agronomist.
Matt.
Oh, Matt Hegney.
Matt Hegney.
Yeah.
Also postal with us. Yeah. And so that's where learning plant language started from, because he said, can you please come back to the conference in January and teach us and stuff? And it's like, no, because my life's fallen apart and I've got kids and all that sort of thing. But he kept on asking, and then it was like, if he asks one more time, I'm ready. I'm going to go. And so they paid me to go, and I did the learning plant language course. And then you come back and you're inundated with phone messages. We've heard what you did in Kansas. Can you run some courses here in Australia? And that's really where it began.
Yeah.
But for me, it was so obvious what was wrong. And then the more you push the yields, the more you see what the next thing is, the next thing. But I've always found that easy. It's been, I think, very helpful to a lot of people.
Yeah.
Now, I know a lot of people still talk to me and say, I've still got that book. Yeah, it's like my little pocket Bible that I look at in the paddocks. And
no, it has. When when I don't find a classic Alan Robson's single deficiency photo in his book, because I've got his 3 books, lupins, clover and wheat, deficiency of A, B, C, D, E nutrients on their own. I then Google your name, Wayne Smith, zinc sulfur deficiency, and often a photo will come up.
Oh, have really?
Because the front pages of your agronomic acumen newsletters, which you've stopped doing, of course, because those photos would often come up. So no, you certainly have, Wayne. It wasn't what you saw wasn't obvious to me, but I could see what you were saying, and I thought, that makes sense. Now,
in hindsight, like, it was a terrible time in my life, but it's just wonderful how that all came together to be useful for everyone. And it was a special time in hindsight. Horrible time, but with the divorce and that. But that became very important to the next step in agriculture, really.
Well, they say that you learn some of the deepest things in life through the most difficult times.
You never want to go through them.
No, you don't want to go through them. And, I had a similar experience in Africa, actually, just so disappointed in what could be. And it still could be, that's another chapter.
Huge,
could be still written. And you and I could have a role in it. Who knows? God knows. But it's beyond my capability. It's got to have all the ducks have got to line up perfectly.
Yep. They can.
They can, yeah. And at 65, you're 63.
Oh, medbeds are coming. We might live to 120.
well, they've done that in the past, but they had better genetics too.
That's another story.
Yeah. All right. So now tell us a bit more about learning plant language. You gave courses all across Australia, I think. You went to New South Wales as well, did you?
Yeah, across Australia.
Into Queensland?
No, I never got there because they were sort of not big on winter crops and nothing's really wrong.
Yeah.
Water's all we need.
Yeah.
But we used to hear that anyway. Water's our biggest problem, Wayne.
Yeah.
It ain't.
Yeah. Now give me 120 mils of water, see what we can do with it. That's only that much water over the whole landscape in a whole year.
Yeah. I should have filed it, but I've had people who used to ridicule me about, water, of course, is the obvious number one problem, Wayne. It's like, no, it's not. And then they've not apologised, but they said, okay, you're right.
Yeah.
Because you've got other things to fix up. And the classic is somebody with the same rainfall across the fence, somebody does 5 tonne a hectare and somebody does 2.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not water.
Yeah.
That's management and doing everything else, fixing problems up.
Yeah, some people using snake oils can keep them at 2 tonne as well.
Yes.
We've seen that in our life.
Yeah, we have. Yeah. So it was a really good time. I thoroughly enjoyed running those courses. People still ask me, and it's like, no, we're in a different era now in my life.
Yeah.
But,
I remember another interesting thing that me and John Hamlin sort of came together a little bit too on without us realising was when we were encouraging farmers to spray in January, February, March. We would conserve a bit of moisture, and one day, bang, dropped into my head, make your break.
Yes. Yeah, make your break to the season.
Don't wait till the first serious rain in May. Use your February rain that's down this deep and and then you don't need much rain. You 2 mils of rain and with a furrow, and you've got your break happening with that summer rain. And of course, everyone does that now.
It's weird how that was controversial.
Yeah.
I mean,
John Hamlin said, "Are you sure?" As good as John is, you know, when I wrote the article, he said, are you sure about that? Have you got the evidence? And I said, well, it's obvious to me.
Obvious. You don't need a trial. You don't need published reviews. Like there's
now,
I can reach it.
Yeah, and now, of course, everyone does that.
Everyone does it. But it took a while, even over East, really poo-pooed dry sowing. You know, and every time there was something went wrong, it was like, oh, we'll never do that again.
Yeah.
But it is the right way to go in our environment.
Yeah.
And it's normal now. But at the time, it was controversial, but it was just one of those obvious things.
Yeah, Chris McDonough, a good friend of mine, and probably yours too, in South Australia, agronomist. Chris took a fancy to my saying, tillage covers a multitude of sins. You know, when we cultivate the soil, we loosen it so that it's easier to get in with a seeder. We kill the weeds. We flush out the nitrogen. We knock some fungal rhizoctonia around. We allow the roots to grow faster, pick up a bit more zinc.
Yeah.
You know, so it covers a multitude of sins, but within 3 to 4 to 5 weeks, it goes backwards because you've damaged everything.
Yep. I know. It's obvious now. Yeah. I'm really impressed with Australian agriculture now. Like the farmers have mentally just switched on, and pride in what they're doing and what they're achieving is astonishing.
Good weed hygiene.
Just putting it all together,
Trace elements.
Putting it all together.
NPK, lime, time of sowing, right variety, protect your
fungicides. The whole works. Just don't have to throw everything at it, but they're just doing it well, putting all things together.
Watch insects. Insects got less too because we've got less diversity. You're not allowed to say that, Wayne, because some people in Germany, I was talking to Jeff Fossery about this about 5 years ago. We both returned from Germany, and we'd both been there 20 years earlier. And you look at the German crops back in the 90s, and they're just amazing, just perfectly clean. And we both returned there recently, and there's weeds everywhere. And there's sort of this mentality, that the more diversity you have in a crop, the better it is, and monocultures are evil. Why are monocultures not evil, Wayne?
Because they grow food. They feed people.
What? That's a too simple an answer.
Bottom line.
But don't we need to grow insects and bees? And
No.
Don't need to grow bees? We do need bees.
Elsewhere.
Oh, God, obviously.
Wheat doesn't need it. So you don't have to let flowering radish in it to look after the bees in your wheat crop. No,
let them have an area somewhere else, or grow a crop for the bees or whatever.
I have not a theory, I have a thought that anything that's pushed that reduces food production is evil.
I think you're right.
And so not just organic, which I understand where you're coming from, but it reduces food production.
Yeah.
And now that things are coming into light, your World Economic Forum things, it's blatantly saying there's too many people, we've got to reduce farming, and they don't want food produced. So that's why I say it's evil. And the world,
if people can't see that, they've got their eyes shut.
It's getting exposed. It's coming out for everyone to see it. So, and
they've written books on it. Bill Gates' dad wrote a book on eugenics, and he says, he's said it many times.
If we get vaccines right, Bill, we can reduce the population by 15%.
Yeah, I know. And
that people don't wake up.
Well, it's a weird combination of two ideas to put together.
I know, but regenerative agriculture is the other one. That reduces food production.
It depends what people are trying to grab that in their own corner. I'm in the Global Farmer Network, and they're trying to hold up regenerative agriculture as the thing. But of course, it's a bit like organic farming, and it's all these range of definitions. And you can have a definition out here that organic works really well. You have a range out here that just doesn't work well.
Yes.
And regen, I think, is like that because they're trying to get rid of herbicides, but really you can't have no-till without herbicides.
The cultivation is a disaster.
That's terrible. And that's not regen agriculture. That's destructive agriculture.
And growing 3 crops and getting nothing producing together and feel good, but it's not producing food for the world. And if we had governments out the way, we could easily have 100 billion people on the earth, still have forests and diversity.
100 billion people on the earth.
Yep.
Well, I think you're probably right, but people will go shocking. That's a shocking thing to say, 100 billion people. But someone's done the maths. The way you and I are located, if New York Island, was it Manhattan Island, is that what they call it?
Manhattan.
Apparently every person in the world could fit on that with a square metre.
Yeah.
Have you heard that one?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
It just need governments out the way, but that's another story. But there's so much upside in agriculture and meat production and food production. And you look what Holland's doing with glass houses and food, third biggest food exporter in the world, tiny little country. We can produce food. It's just governments that stop us. And
yeah, well, I've come to the shocking realisation after trying to get things happening in Africa that I think the West wants Africa to stay organic, because then they can steal their diamonds, their gold, their coltan, and their conflicts rage. Africa's got so much wealth, and Africans are all flooding the rest of the world, getting out of there to come to our, places, but all they have to do is turn the light on in their own backyard, do agriculture properly. Then you're not spending 95% of your time scrounging for food and making food and growing food. And then you'll be able to have time to go and get your own diamonds and kick the rest of us out.
Kick them out.
Which is fine by me. Yeah. That's but
I took a lot of farmers to Kenya and stuff. I had 40 farmers there I was helping for a while, and it's heartbreaking. You got all these subsistence farmers growing corn and beans and things. Like, it is so starving. They're blessed that generally in Kenya there's molybdenum, sulfur, and copper deficient. Most of the macros are all good, even nitrogen from all the thunderstorms and the soils and that. It's so easy to fix. Just
molybdenum,
sulfur and copper. They're the three main widespread deficiencies in Kenya.
Yeah,
easy to fix, cheap to fix.
And only about 2,000 kilometres from there is the copper belt, right in the centre of Zambia and southern bit of DRC, Congo.
That's what I mean, is if everyone did farming really well across the world, we'd have no trouble supporting 100 million people. But it's governments, like you're saying, want Africa to be poor and corrupt, and because they don't want the people, they don't want us to thrive. That Africa could be the world powerhouse. It's got every mineral. It's got rainfall. It's got soils. It's
got very intelligent people too. There's a lot of amazing people in Africa that are very bright. As bright as Alan Robson. I met two of them. I might even work with one of them. Yeah. Both of them, in fact. Who knows? Lack of food is not a problem. In Western Australia, like we were saying before, we grew 1 tonne per hectare and think that was good enough, 5 bags to the acre, and it wasn't good enough. And now we're talking, 7 times that is very doable. And it's the same with Africa. Their average maize yield is 0.5 tonne per hectare.
Shocking.
And yet the temperature is beautiful for it.
Soils, rain.
Soils, there's a lot of sandy soils, but they've got...
We got Bill.
Yeah, sandy soils. Yeah, exactly.
We can grow 7 tonnes.
Yeah.
So, and we don't have as good a climate as some of those places.
No, they have 2 seasons a year.
I know.
Plus they've got the rivers, because they've got 2,000 millimetres of rain up in those hills that just pour. The Congo water just pours. So Kenya, you took farmers there. You had a lot of fun there as well. You did tourist stuff as well as agriculture.
Yeah, that started from 2 farmers in particular, pestering me to come and help them with no-till. I think you were busy or something or other at a stage. And I was, right at the time of my divorce. It's like, no, busy and looking after kids and employing 2 people and that. And then they said, well, we're flying to Perth. We're going to come and buy the, I've forgotten it now, the DBS seeder.
Oh, yeah.
And buy some sprayers and things while we're at it. Can we meet you? So I went and met them in Perth.
These are white?
White farmers. Yeah. I made a faux pas once.
Yeah.
So how long have you been in Africa?
When? We were born here.
7th generation African.
Yeah.
My bad. Sorry.
Yeah.
Because they're speaking with a British accent and are Oxford trained or Cambridge trained and educated and highly intelligent, but hadn't a clue how to farm. Yeah, cropping modern wise. Didn't know you had to decontaminate a sprayer, and it was wheat fallow and glean. It was just terrible. Didn't grow corn because the locals would steal it, and and if it didn't rain for 2 weeks, the crops would die. So it was a great pleasure to be there. I loved being there because they were sponges, really intelligent, very keen, had everything at their disposal, just didn't know what to do. And a lot of Africa's like that, is you can make so much difference to people's lives with just, it's going to be okay. You've just got root disease, just we need to do this. So you've got some copper, you've got some moly, and you'll be fine. And away they go. And they're doing gangbusters now. But that was enjoyable. And then obviously when you go to Kenya, you've got to go on safari. It's obligatory.
Yeah, sure.
And then farmers will say, Wayne, you've got to take us. I think it was Mark Adams, bless him, said, Wayne, you've got to take us. And it's like, really?
Yeah.
It's easy by yourself, but with a group.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was, we had a lot of hugs and tears of people thanking us for taking it there. It was an eye-opener. It's an amazing place.
Yeah. I'm talking to some rich US Texan farmers, and they're wanting to do agriculture in Africa. And an African leader, Dr. Robert Mawiri, he's actually the king of Southern Africa. His father has got Jewish blood in him, he reckons, from Solomon's.
That's right. That's right.
And there's a colony, you can Google this, people, Monomatapia land was a big kingdom in Rhodesia in the 1500s, and there's a big structure there too. I don't know how old that structure is. I haven't seen it myself, but I might get to see it one day. And anyway, he's thinking of retiring back there and taking some American, with Trump in power, and Africans do respect a strong man, a tough man. Trump certainly can do that. So there might be an opportunity to start some projects there with a bit of nobility, but I just, without theft. You said the maize gets stolen, and that I was speaking to a guy from Mozambique the other day, and he said, yeah, Bill, I've decided not to grow maize anymore because I got out there the day before, I had a 6-ton crop, and people knew it was ready, saw my headers were ready to go. Next day I went out there, it was only 3-ton per hectare on 500 hectares. So he lost 1,500 tons of maize at worth $400 US, $600,000 just gone. So, but, Africa has had a history of, witchcraft, and they've come into Christianity a bit, and quite a bit, and that's helped them. I think they need to turn 10 Commandments, because that'll stop
Shall not steal.
Don't steal.
That would help.
Don't lie. Yep. Don't covet. I think that'll really help them. And, I can just imagine the potential is tremendous. So whether it can be nailed or not with Trump's administration sort of giving an oversight protection, it's possible, I think.
And if you can get the subsistence farmers to grow plenty of food, which is not hard to do, just tweaking, why you don't need to steal.
Yeah, the Foundations for Farming principle, which Brian Aldreve started. He was a number 3 in the cricket batting in 1970-something in Zimbabwe.
Okay.
And he became a Christian, and so his daughter said, Dad, if you're growing tobacco and you're a Christian, that's not compatible.
Oh.
So he it's a nice little story worth telling, I think. Brian's just a lovely, humble man. Ken Flower will speak highly of him. So Brian was, he wrestled with that after he became a Christian. Why am I growing tobacco? And people are hungry here in Africa. Should be growing food crops. When his daughter said that. So at 1 o'clock in the morning, he said, okay, I give in. I'm not going to grow tobacco anymore. So he didn't. And he started growing maize with tillage. Didn't work. So he's, I don't know whether it's 2,000 hectares or acres or something. Anyway, failed year 1, failed year 2. And then the government said, look, Brian, you're a great guy, but, we're just going to have to take your farm off you unless you go back to growing tobacco. You're a good farmer. And he says, well, I can't do that. So because I've made a pledge, basically. And they said, well, here's the keys to your Toyota, and that's it. We've taken everything else. So they took everything off him. Fair enough, it was a deal, a bank deal. Back then, it was a fair deal. Then he went for a walk and a cry. As we were talking about before, you often learn the best things, as you're really being humbled powerfully. He sat down on a rock, and there was a tree above him, and his tears hit the ground. But no, they didn't hit the ground. They hit the stubble. And he thought, I've got to learn to farm the way God sort of does, nature's way. So he called it farming God's way to begin with. Then he changed the Foundations for Farming, rightly so, I think, because that's a bit too arrogant to say, oh, I'm the only one that knows how to farm God's way. So, he changed it to Foundations for Farming, and that program's still going. It's a really good program. But what then happened was, from that point of being right at the bottom, his neighbours came up to him and said, Brian, as you know, my husband's passed away. My 16-year-old son's too young. He's still at school. Could you manage our farm for a while and grow tobacco or, whatever? And he said, sure, but I want to grow some food crops, And she said, okay, but not too much.
Okay.
So I think I've got this right. Apologies, Brian, or if I've got it a little bit wrong, my memory. And so then he grew a small area, 5 hectares or something, or 1 hectare, and he did it with no tillage, and he kept all the residue, and it went really well. Went 4 or 5 tons, not 1.
Yeah.
And then next year expanded it to 10 times and 10 times, 10 times. Then he was growing thousands of hectares of maize with no tillage. And for this lady,
And not much tobacco.
not I imagine, I can't remember that part of it. And then he kept winning the maize competitions for Zimbabwe, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 ton, I don't know how many. And he did that for 5 or 6 years, and they said to him, Brian, you can't enter the competition anymore because you keep winning it. So then he moved, the son came back, took over the farm, and then Brian took over this Foundations for Farming.
We've still got a long way to go because the potential's over 30.
Yeah, I don't doubt that, but let's not scare people too much with 30.
We used to scare people saying, 7 tonne, you should be able to get 7 tonne. It's like, that's pie in the sky. And then all of a sudden,
Yeah.
I've met a guy who had 7 tonne canola.
In Australia?
WA, not far from where I'm living.
Wow.
Drove past it all year. That is a thumper of a crop.
Yeah.
That is a thumper. Like, we go and look at the windrows, it's like, you couldn't climb over it.
Yeah.
And we had 7 tonne.
Well,
That's the paddock.
yeah, well, Edmonton, Alberta, they grow 6 tonne consistently, canola and canola and canola.
But you look back and think, that's just impossible. Even if everything, as Leon Slattery and others once said, when I put out a
20 bags.
press release saying 4 tonnes is possible, go, even if everything's perfect, you won't. Maybe in a small patch, but not the... And you look back now, that was sort of out of ignorance, just didn't know what was possible when you remove all the constraints. And then even when you remove that, there's still always improvement. So we got more and more improvement. I don't think we can double the yields at the best farm. I don't think the best farmers today can double their yields yet, but they can always keep improving, tolerate stresses. And
No, that's fine. This is what podcasts are about. We have a conversation. I think improving the minuscule things being added in with the liquid stream where the seedling is. I think we can do a bit more there, I reckon.
yeah, yep.
Exactly what I don't know. Maybe there's a little bit of nematicide that could be used somehow safely.
You mean we don't know what we don't know?
Yeah. That'd be right, Wade.
It's true. And you only learn by pushing and by accidents and things. That I do think we need to be looking at things like ivermectin down the spout. It's a nematode killer and very, very, very cheap. And on the seed, see what it does. We've got fungicides that do have nematicide activity right now being released.
Yeah, well, I talked to Kathy about this, McKenna, who our mutual friend from uni days and works with me at Four Farmers,
Yep.
and she did a little bit of research, and she said one of the problems with ivermectin soils, it does break down quite quickly.
Yes.
So I've talked to David Seagren, who made Aquifer for Four Farmers, and Trace Elements. He did the Nutrient brand, but he sold that to Nutrient. And he's we're looking now at some interesting ideas of some encapsulation,
Low release.
some chemistry that holds onto the ivermectin a little bit longer before it can get broken down, so that it can do its thing.
And we now know it cures. We knew decades ago we just weren't told it was hidden, but ivermectin kills viruses. So
Yeah.
what happens if we spray it on the leaf? Does that stop barley yellow dwarf virus or cucumber mosaic virus? Or I don't know.
But isn't ivermectin that horse dewormer?
Yeah, that's right.
That's all it is, isn't
Even though
it?
it was registered on humans first.
Yeah. And it won the Nobel Peace Prize.
1985, yeah.
And another one in 2017, I think.
2000.
Yeah, so and it's a safe molecule too. If you look at the LD50 of ivermectin, it's quite special.
Safest one around.
So for those that don't know, you should Google it, LD50, lethal dose that kills 50% of the population. And in scientific studies, we typically use rats as or mice or whatever. We poison them. But you've got to find out somehow how toxic these things are. It's better that than kill people.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't do too many trials with that stuff that they put out.
No.
And they should have. And the results that they have put out are not that flattering, were they, for the vaccines, which I'm glad I never got it. And you didn't get it either.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the truth's all coming out.
Yeah, it's a slow one. That's like pulling teeth, that is. But
Anyway.
I got more and more friends that have had 5, 6 shots that are just keep getting sick from COVID. And I say, well, stop getting the shot. You tell us about natural immunity, Wade. How does that work? I mean, we talk about plants as well, but we're now digressing onto humans a little bit, and I don't see there's a harm in doing that.
I mean, just a quick one was Fauci actually published stuff himself calling ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine a cure and a vaccine. And so
20 years ago.
Yeah. 3 papers I read,
Yeah.
and they were blocked. And I got really angry after reading that. So here's this guy pulling the world to a full stop, and you publish stuff yourself saying it's a cure for cold viruses and all viruses, a cure and a vaccine. And by that, the research showed it would kill the virus, but it would allow the body to know, as if you got sick, never to get how to fight it and to become immune. So it was known decades ago.
And I know that too. I haven't talked to you about this, but I've come across that Fauci work as well.
It's come back again. Okay.
Right.
Because it got hidden. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I've seen good people reference that.
Yep.
Even I think it was Robert Malone who invented the messenger RNA technology, did his PhD on it in 1989, I think. And then his whole career was based on it, and then he gave up on the messenger RNA technology. He just couldn't get it to work. In about 2006, I heard him say. And then he decided to get the vaccine. He thought, oh, well, maybe they've got it right. Now they've fixed it up. I haven't been in the field for a few years. But then a week or so later, he changed his mind on YouTube and said, and then that YouTube video got taken off. But he said, don't take it. Do not take it.
I know.
Anyway, fortunately, they got the vaccine, haven't been injured, which is great. Fortunately, but I think a lot of them are placebos myself.
We're hoping a third of them were saline, but
Yeah.
But no, we've lost a lot of friends very quickly from the jabs. But anyway, the truth's coming out. Just stop.
Yeah, well, I've lost friends too from it. There was a fit guy in Ethiopia working out at the gym. He's an engineer. He was a champion for Ethiopia. He was going to be a leader. And Delessa, my friend who took me over to meet him, and Delessa sent me a text, said my friend has died. And because I went over there and we spoke in churches with Delessa, and this guy helped organise it and translate for us, and just a brilliant mind. And I said, was it after he got the vaccine? He said, yeah, the day after. He just collapsed in the gym, working out, and he was fit as fit. So
very common.
Very sad. Anyway, we don't need to be shy about saying this because it will become very obvious to everyone. It's interesting how things change, isn't it? Things are, and like no tillage. You and I had the courage to say this is the way to go, and we were ridiculed. We were told, you're stupid, you're insane, you don't want to do that, you'll lose yield. But we looked at it, it was obvious to us because we looked at the little bits of it. And now when you look back, you think, how could you have thought that was a dumb idea, no tillage? And again, WA's yield this year is going to be right up there. It's going to be, I heard someone say yesterday, CBH are now saying could be the record harvest ever.
Still huge improvement. There's still so many bad crops out there. But remember,
Yeah, but.
do you remember that?
Yeah, go on. Do you say a bit more?
Oh, you and I were talking, and people used to say it so much when you say, oh, if you just did this, you would get 5 tonne or 7 tonne, and go, yeah, but what if it doesn't rain, or what if this happens, or yeah, but that sounds good, but and all those things are gone. Like, you don't hear yeah buts much anymore because they were excuses and fear of disaster and doing something different and getting it wrong, which we do when we first start something. We do get things wrong, but we learn. We learn from that. It's interesting looking back from, you and I have been, 30 plus years now, and all those yeah buts sort of gone. All of those excuses.
Yeah, for high yield, sustainable, no-till agriculture. So we're talking about?
Yeah, putting things together and
the package.
Yeah, but what if it doesn't rain for a month? I've got this huge crop's going to die. Well, it doesn't when you get everything right. Yeah, it goes backwards, but it doesn't go to zero.
So, you, before we digressed a little bit, you were talking about ivermectin not even on the leaf, and I'm
wondering.
It's a foliar.
I'm curious because we know it kills viruses. We know exactly how it kills viruses in animals and us.
Yeah.
What does it do in plants? I can't find any research on it, but it's just curious.
Yeah.
Wonder if it would work.
Well, we can certainly do research on it.
Put it on the seed dress.
Yeah. Well, as I was saying before, David Seagren's, sort of curious about doing these encapsulation technologies.
Slow release.
Yeah. There's a lot in encapsulation I think could be done. I've had this other thought about NBPT, urea converting to ammonia, slowing that process down to be a slow release through that. Certainly it works, Agritain's a product, or Sustain, I think CSBP sell it as. It doesn't work very well in acid soils, in cold environments where it rains every 4 days. But in Canada, you top dress urea out, you lose 60% of it on a high pH soil with a thunderstorm coming through that only drops 3 millimetres, just enough to dissolve the
wind and the stubble. Yep.
Yeah.
Gone. Yep.
Just enough to dissolve the urea granule, turn into a gas.
Let the ureas do its stuff. Yep.
Yep. Yeah, well, that's right, and that can happen all quite quickly. They can lose 60% of urea, and that's why I got a bit interested in it a long time ago, along with plastic-coated urea. Unfortunately, the dissolvable plastic coating was dissolved, cost a bit too much. I said to them, look, if you can make this $50 a tonne, we're in business. Tell me, are you going to get it there? And they wouldn't give me an answer, and in the end, it was going to cost $200, and trials showed 30-40% yield increase and a lot less leaching and slow, because every granule's...
The theory works.
Yeah. Yeah, I did some trials on it. It was great results. And it was really good with canola, actually, because canola just likes a continuous slow release. And, Agritain could be similar with Flexi and UAN, urea ammonium nitrate, for the 50% that's urea. But I'm wondering if we might need some encapsulation technology to help make that work, or something.
The technology's there where you can dial up to release 80% in 1 month after being wet. So crop's growing, and then 80% of the nitrogen's released.
Through chemistry?
Yeah, through the chemistry, just the plastic chemistry and how long it's been wet and just assumptions on temperature where you're using it, and you can dial it up to, even don't release until 14 months' time.
Right. That's not commercially available?
It's technically available. I don't know, people aren't doing it now.
Because for fruit trees, that would be really smart, wouldn't it?
So plant, drill it once and have it fertilised 5 times.
Yeah.
It's possible. Yeah. Whatever you think of is pretty much possible.
Well, we complain about plastics. Fair enough, they can't use plastic bags anymore, so we have to carry everything out and it falls out of your hands in the car park. We used to use those little plastic bags for our little bins we recycle them, now we have to buy plastic bags to put in our bins.
Those days will come back.
Well, I hope they were politically expedient. I think that's what it was. It got elections, got another 2-3% votes, but, everything's wrapped in plastic, and in plastic nanoparticles is another subject. We're not experts on that, but it's a curious one. But the reason I come back to plastics in agriculture is because internet had just come on, and I think you're one of these crazy people that like to find these innovative things quickly. And as soon as I hear you say something, I think, like Google, Google search. Oh, what's that? You're one of the first ones that I heard say that. So I went on Google search, and back in the 90s, I guess, and I typed in plastic-coated fertilizer or plastic-coated, and up comes this company called Planet Polymer in San Diego. Mm-hmm. So I ring them up.
Yeah. You went and saw them.
Yeah, I went and saw them. And I said to them, this is fantastic. You're going to save the planet. Yeah. They said, well, we're trying. We've been at it for 3, 4, 5 years, and the company ended up going broke. Sadly, they had the right idea. Yeah. They could dial up, like you're saying, whatever, plastic stuff that would degrade sitting in the water for 2 days.
It's 20 plus years ago we went there, wasn't it?
96, 7?
Yeah. There you go.
Did you come with me?
Yeah, we were on the stage with you.
With Jeff, we had a couple of Pontiacs, I think. We were racing each other down the in America. I don't remember them. We hired a couple of fast cars. Anyway, so they end up going broke. But I said to them, how much does it cost to make plastic biodegrade over the top of plastics? They said, it adds about 1% to the cost. But no one wants to pay the 1%. And if only the world had gone more down that path, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking, and they need a Bill Crabtree to demonstrate it.
Well, it's obvious to me. It's obvious to you.
That's the rest
but here we are, 30 years later, and just it hasn't really happened, because people think plastic is evil, but plastic is just a carbon. You're good at chemistry. What'd you get, 90-something% at uni?
Yeah.
In chemistry? What was it? Come on, boast a little bit. Was it 95?
Just distinction.
Distinction was fine. Yeah, I got a C minus. Chemistry. So I always respect your chemistry knowledge, Wayne. There's opportunity there. But for the world, they don't understand, I think, what plastic is. Yeah. It's a carbon chain, and you can make plastic out of corn, wheat, anything. It's just a carbon chain.
Synthesize it.
Yeah. Give a little bit of basic chemistry lesson. Give it 30-second for us.
No, you can make polymers out of anything, with the energy and the carbon source and, natural gas, you can start creating things. So pretty much whatever you think of, we can do these days. You can dial up plastics to be embedded with, say, cobalt or selenium or...
But plastics are evil, Wayne.
Well, they break down, they're not.
Well, this is a conversation I want to have. Plastics aren't evil. No, and nor is hydrocarbons. They're not evil. You can make hydrocarbons out of our crops that we grow, canola.
You can get into semantics, like is a gun evil? Well, saves you in a war, or you can commit murder with it.
Yes.
Everything can be used for good or bad. It's just semantics after that.
It's like a knife in the hand of an African woman who's got kids to feed a family. In the hand of a terrorist, it's not a good tool.
Right.
We're in Melbourne at the moment. Yeah, good yuck. It's all tools. We've got to use these tools for good, not evil. Right, so that's a bit of a fun roundabout chat we've had there, Wayne. I don't know, what else have we got on the end there? Oh, Kaluka Farms. Maybe that's a bit of a topic on its own, I think.
Okay.
And maybe we'll stop it here and we'll talk about Kaluka soon. But
okay.
Thank you, Wayne, for a very interesting conversation, a bit of a journey down memory lane.
It's great to share it with you. Good memories.
Thanks, Wayne.
It's a lot of amazing people in Africa that's very bright. Yeah.